last year?
Much wiser, much better with his words, tremendously strong leader, at least here. Not to say that he wasn't a good leader in Seattle, but Sherm, having gone through, this is his third Super Bowl now, and being the All-Pro that he is and all that, he's been nothing but, he has met and exceeded every mark that you could possibly imagine from a player.
Why do you think he relishes the verbal tussles he seems to always get in?
He's a competitor. His whole life he's been told he can't, and he's always trying to prove that he can. And that's him. He's always got that chip on his shoulder, and that's what you always have to have a why as a human being, and he's always got a why for why he needs to be better than he is today. So that's what makes him special.
Robert, last year you went up against Mahomes and the Chiefs. They put up a lot of points in the second half, but then in the first half, second half, things slowed down. Is this a similar challenge, or are they pretty similar to what you saw back then?
They're similar. They're very explosive. Mahomes has gotten better. They're at every possession or every position. It almost looks like they got their roster from the Olympic relay team and threw them all on the football field. Not to say that they can't run routes and catch either, because they can do that. So they're a special group, and you can see why they're there.
In that game, now they scored a lot of points, but you didn't really give up too many explosives, maybe the one to rebuild. Was that kind of the game plan? Was it to try to keep things in front of your guys?
Always. One of the founding principles of our defense is to eliminate explosives. I think we've done a good job this year doing it, but it got a little sideways in that first half, the first game around. We had a 3rd and 15 that gave up a screenplay to create a 4th and 1, which they converted, which led to a field goal or a touchdown. Then the very next drive, I'll argue, was a phantom PI that led to 1st and goal from the 1-yard line that should have been held to a field goal, but Mahomes made some unbelievable plays in a 2-minute drive to get another touchdown in there. So, we're a little bit better than we were a year ago, and we're excited for the challenge.
Robert, how do you assess what makes Mahomes unique at his position?
His mobility is unique. His arm strength is ridiculous. He's very, very accurate. But what I don't think people give him enough credit for is that he actually plays quarterback. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that will say no to number one, and then it just becomes a street ball. He gets rid of the ball on time. He puts it where it needs to be. He hits a lot of throws in rhythm, and when he needs to take his shot, he knows how to buy time in the pocket and do it. So he's a superstar in every way you can possibly imagine, and he's going to be tough to deal with.
When you're preparing and you have this much time, how do you balance the paralysis by overanalysis idea, and how far back do you go? I know you're mentioning this game you guys played last year, but how far back do you go in terms of studying Andy Reid and his offenses and things like that?
For us, you go as far as you possibly can. It's our job as coaches to try to make it. You're always just trying to tell them a story, and you're trying to make it as easy for them as possible. But you're 100% right. You don't want to show them every play that Coach Reid has run in the history of his system. You would die, I think. But at the same time, you do have to. Coach Reid has a philosophy, and we have to find a way to pull that out so the players can understand it.
And with the pass rush, obviously it's significantly improved, but is it as simple as just beating the guy in front of you, or how much do you have to focus on those guys pass rushing as a unit to get home effectively and maybe prevent Mahomes from leaking out?
Every week, whether you're playing a guy like Mahomes or a statue, it doesn't matter. You have to have respect for where he is in the pocket, and your pass rush has to tie in with one another, so that way you're just not carelessly rushing the passer to where even a statue can buy time and escape the pocket and create an explosive play through an off-schedule play. But that goes every single week. You're always rushing in unison. You're always paying respect to the quarterback in the pocket, and you're always trying to keep him in there.
Robert, what is it that makes Kasarik so effective with the unit that he coaches?
So, Kasarik, it's our philosophy is in this system to eliminate gray area from players as much as you can. Gray area always creates hesitation. You want these players playing in a world of black and white, so they know what's expected of them, so they can go as fast as humanly possible. Kasarik is the definition of black and white. He is very clear and cut with what he's asking of the players. He's very clear and cut with his techniques. Nothing changes just because a player's movement doesn't change you. Your technique, your effort level, your aiming points, everything is very, very clear for those players. And because of it, they can go fast because they know what's being asked of them. I hope that answered your question.
Your defense, Robert, you said you were a little better than you were a year ago. You have Nick Bosa and D Ford now on your defense. What does that addition of those two guys do to your ability to corral Mahomes?
One, the speed that they bring to be able to run with a guy like Mahomes, but when you have edge rushers, it speeds up the process of the quarterback, and not that he needs speeding up yard; it gets rid of it pretty quick, but it does. It changes the game. Like I talked about last week, it unlocks the offensive line, so it creates a little bit more space, and it gives the guys inside more space to operate. So having those guys out there, having them at full speed will do nothing but help.
Your defense doesn't have much Super Bowl experience. How might your Super Bowl experience help?
Well, Sherm's been there, but you're right. It felt so long ago that we were in the Super Bowl, but you just try to keep guys in the moment. We've been playing. I argue we've been playing championship games every single game. Every single week has been a championship game. Today is a championship day. And if you approach your life in that regard and you stay in the championship moment every single moment of your life, then the days leading up to the game and the game itself will just become normal. Not to say that it's a normal football game, but you have to play it in your mind over and over and over again. You do that through practice, and you do that through your day-to-day operation. So try to keep the players in that mindset, and when the game comes, you don't create anything new. You do what you've done every single day. Treat it like a championship moment and just go play.
Super Bowl ring, and do you ever break it out and wear it?
It's hiding somewhere in the safe. Not going to tell anyone where, but I don't wear it. It's a Seahawk ring, so I don't get a chance to.
How does that speed that you mentioned there, how does that stack up with other teams that you've seen in terms of the Kansas City skill position guys, and what are the ways that stresses your defense?
They're the fastest team by far. It's to try to compare it to another team would not do them justice, to be honest with you. But anytime you have speed like that, it naturally will stress the defense.
Richard moved to the right side a couple times last game. He was saying maybe just kind of to mess with them. Not going to ask you about whether you're going to do it in the Super Bowl, but was that the thinking there? Was just kind of mess around with him? And has he moved too very much in the last few years here?
He hasn't. It was just to throw a wrench, whatever wrench that we could create early in the game. We were trying to find ways that they could attack us, and we thought maybe they would come out and just try to throw a go ball early. So just put them out there to the boundary and really get Matty thinking a little bit. And so that was about it.
Robert, where do you think Quan is compared to?
I'll get you. Sorry.
Where do you think Quan is compared to where he was pre-injury, and where can he be in another 10 days?
He's getting better and better. He's getting healthier, and he's getting his feet back underneath him. So I'd imagine in the next 10 days he'd get even closer. So.
John Luke, when he first got here, he said even he had questions about Kyle's leadership skills. Not that he didn't think he could do it, but he knew he could X and O. But he had to wait and see how he'd be as a leader. You obviously got here. Did you have any of those same questions? And if so, how has he answered them and grown since he got here?
The most underrated thing that I think is misunderstood about Kyle is his humility to know when he doesn't have the answer. A lot of people might look at Kyle as somebody who is, this is my way, I already know, you don't need to tell me. But when you actually sit down and talk with him, if you can present a case, he wants answers that are right for the organization. He's not looking to force his opinion just because it's his opinion. And so he's got a tremendous amount of humility to be able to listen to everyone's opinion so that the right decisions are made for the organization so it can continue to move forward. So the combination of him and John's humility, I really, really believe is why this organization is where it is today. So,
Robert, you mentioned that
Kansas City has the most team speed of anyone. Where would you rank your own team defensive speed? And then you talked about gray area and taking that away. How do you take away that gray area from coverage guys when they're dealing with so much speed on the other side?
You take away the gray, to answer the second part, you take away the gray by being very definitive in what their responsibility is coverage-wise. So that way they can utilize all their speed. And to answer the speed question, I do think we're pretty fast. I don't get a chance to watch many defenses out there other than ours, and I'll get a chance during the off-season to kind of do some self-scout and studying of other people, but I like to think we're up there.
Robert, would you say their past experiences from just this season alone against mobile quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, do you think those experiences are going to help you when preparing against Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl?
It always does. Whenever the more experiences you get at dealing with quarterbacks of his style, it can only help you.
Robert, obviously, so much attention is on the big four defensive linemen, but I guess how important has it been to have competent or even better guys behind them who, I think it was against the Rams, you took out all four, and all four reserves were in there. I guess just having that type of depth.
We have a philosophy to roll with 8 on defense, on the defensive line. You want to come at them at waves. You want to stay fresh. You want to keep going. So the whole all gas, keep them rolling so they don't pace themselves. A lot of times you get so stuck with playing your best 4 all the time that those guys understand they're going to be out there for a while, so they pace themselves. We don't want them pacing themselves. We want them rolling. So those next 4 are every bit as important as the first 4. And we still got to play great football when they're on the football field. And 2, it allows those guys a break. So when you get to those critical situations of 2-minute and third down, your 4 horses can be out there and be fresh so they can go get the quarterback.
What's the process behind the rotation? Do you have a process behind
We
it?
do. We try to keep their snaps down. So we picking and choosing. Kacerek does a great job with that regard, making sure that those guys are fresh, keeping their snaps as low as possible. So you may see where Buck, Armstead, and Bosa are off the field to start a drive. Just to, we feel good about where we're at, get a couple of stops, third down, get them out there. So we're trying to steal, on average, about 20 to 25 snaps a game from those front 4 guys, the first 4, throughout the game, and you're just trying to fill out the game and how it's going and try to steal as many snaps as you can.
Robert, I've heard so much about Kacerek's intensity. Do you have a good story about that with you or where you've seen it?
God, it seems like every day, but Coach Washburn, when we first hired him, I think he, in an article, said it best. He's a raccoon on meth, if you guys can imagine what that might look like. So.
You said that you try to tell your players a story, assuming in the prep week. Is it like Kyle said, 30 carries, a couple weeks ago? Is it something like that, or is it if you stop the run, it's going to be fine? What's generally the story you tell them?
Well, you're trying to tell them a story of what we need to do and what they're trying to do. So it's, what is this offense really trying to accomplish? What do they look like what are they trying to accomplish when they look like this, or versus a whole nother formation or whatever it might be? So you're just trying to tell a story so they don't get lost in the volume of personnels, the volume of formations, motions, shifts, routes. And the more you can peel the onion back, the more they'll see that it's really not that hard. And so the goal is by next Sunday, is to make this thing as easy for them as possible.
There were a few games where Nick Bosa was out there for an extended amount of plays. Was that not feeling comfortable? What happened?
When he was out there a lot? So that was, when we started having, we got into a rut, like I just talked about, of wanting to play our best guys all the time. And that's not fair to the players. And so we got into this, because it was going with Buck and Armstead also, and we had to check ourselves as coaches to make sure that we were putting guys out there to go play football and trusting that they'll get better and they'll get the job that we need done to get done. And so we got into a 2 or 3 game stretch there where those guys were taking on a lot of reps, and it was just on us as coaches and really as players also to pull back, get off the field, find 20 to 25 reps, so that way on those critical situations we could be fresh. And so I think the Atlanta game was the last time that happened. Sorry. All right. Thanks, everybody. What's up, everyone?
Bowl rings, where do you keep them and do you ever wear them? And what's it mean to be able to be a starter as opposed to backing up person?
Yeah, those are back in Chicago, safe and sound. So I don't know if I've worn them any other times other than like the ring ceremony, maybe to a school visiting or something like that. But that was about it. But just I mean, it's another great opportunity to be back to it, and it's just these don't come around very often. So you got to take advantage when you get them.
How do you feel your Super Bowl experience will help you the next couple of weeks and in the game?
I think just when you get down there, especially the media availability, all the requirements and obligations that you have to do, I think just having been through that and obviously being a starter, it's a little different with time management and everything. But just having seen all that, being up close and personal with it, I think all that will help me.
What are your recollections of Patrick Mahomes visiting you after the Chiefs game last year, and did that make an impression on you that he would,
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't even know Pat at the time. For him to come out of his way after the game and, wish me luck and everything, just a real class act. I mean, the guy's awesome on the field, off the field. He's, he does it all.
You guys stayed in touch at all?
Not really since then, no, but just for him to do something as simple as that, it went a long way.
You said that you don't really care how often you row and all you really care about is winning. Somebody like Richard Sherman will see any sort of slights against him and use that as motivation. I'm wondering, with all this discussion about your play, the fact that you threw just 8 passes in the NFC title game, how you use that or how you view it, if it's even on your mind at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sherm, everyone has different ways to, get motivated, and very similar to Sherm, I do the same thing. I hear all the stuff and everything, but it's just you can't put that all out there all the time. It's just, you have to do with it what you will and take it for what it is. It's just, at the end of the day, you got to go out there and play football.
So Sherm, I think is the benefit of examining Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, in the game, that will play a role in how you prepare for this game?
I think just how calm he was, how, and everyone says that you got to treat it like another game, but just the way that he actually did it. I mean, I was right, up close and personal, just getting all the, picking up everything I could, seeing how he went about his business and everything. And obviously it worked out the 2 times that I was there with him. And so try to transfer that over to my game.
Jimmy, what do you think of the Chiefs defense?
A talented group. They really are. They starts up front, 95-55. They got other guys that could get after it too, but just their overall team speed, they mix it up in coverages. They don't really, they're trying not to give you anything easy. And so it makes it difficult on us.
I mean, how hard was it to watch that film from last year? What was it like for you, obviously, with the emotions of your injury, but studying that tape and their defense?
Yeah, it brought up a lot of memories, obviously, with the knee and everything. It's crazy just how things come full circle like that. But it's, new year and everything. You could take some things from the players and things like that, but, the scheme, it's a little different this year.
Other memory from Kansas City this year, you were coming off a rougher game in Denver in the preseason, but you're really sharp. In retrospect, how important was that performance just to get your confidence back and your legs back underneath you?
I thought it was important. It definitely was, especially just with the timing of it. Coming back from the knee and everything, I knew there was going to be, a bump in the road or a hiccup at some point. And I think just, Denver happened and all that, and then bouncing back in Kansas City just, really helped escalate things.
Hey, Jimmy, you played under sorry if I interrupt you. You played under a Hall of Fame coach, and then you come here and you encounter a rookie coach who doesn't even look like Belichick. What were you expecting from Kyle, and did anything surprise you? Or
I would say, I expected a, very sharp offensive mind, because I'd never met Kyle prior to that, other than, combine and things like that. But just from hearsay around the league, just a smart guy who, he commands the room, he could lead men, and just offensive mind like no other. And so there was no surprises with that. That all held true, and just the way that he could lead, it's incredible. I mean, he does it in different ways on the field, in the meeting room, in the team meeting, all that stuff. It's just goes a long way.
How would you describe yourself as a leader?
How would I what?
How would you describe yourself as a leader?
I I think I just be myself, let it come naturally. I never try to, go outside the box and, do something that isn't myself, because I think guys see right through that and just they'll think it's fake, and it can't be that way. Guys in this, guys are smart in there, and so they'll see right through you. But I think at the end of the day, you got to be yourself.
Jimmy, along the same lines, because your teammates say you're one of the guys, you don't elevate yourself. You're not like, I'm the franchise quarterback. You're not. But at the same time, you can't just be one of the guys because you're the quarterback, and there are times where you have to scream at them, like it was the Browns game or whatever. Anyway, is that something that comes naturally, or have you learned the art of how to balance those things?
There's definitely a balance to it. It's a fine line, but I think at the end of the day, as long as guys respect you, respect your opinion, and they see the work you put in and things like that, I think all that carries tremendous weight. And it's just when we're around each other, the teammates, just as much as we are, you just your guys inside and out, and they know you inside and out. So there's really no being fake. It's just God is what it is.
Jimmy, on a pretty young team, how important is Joe Staley just as a voice and a locker room presence?
It's huge to have him, especially just big moments, games like this. I mean, we've had him throughout the entire end of the season. It feels like these big games, but just having a guy like that who could, calm everything down, put everything in perspective and things like that. I mean, Joe's done phenomenal on the field, and the things he does off the field go very unnoticed, but it carries us a long way.
Does he say things in the huddle much?
From time to time, yeah. I think there's a time and place that he will, but yeah. I mean, everyone leads in their own way, or shows examples of that.
Jimmy, just wondering, because it is different going through the process as a starter and a backup, will you reach out to Tom or anyone from the Patriots just to get advice how to handle what you're about to encounter in the next week and a half?
I might. It's not a bad idea. I mean, it's just the more information that you could get about it, and having been through it, it's a little different as a starter than backup. So any information I could get would be great.
Jimmy, speaking of what you learned from Tom Brady, just being a part of those Super Bowls, like against the Seattle Seahawks, just what can you speak about his demeanor when he led that game-winning drive in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, just I mean, I said it before. He treats it like every other game, and just you could see it and how he is, his body mannerisms, everything. It's just how he prepares for it makes him confident on Sunday. And so I'm trying to do the same thing, be ready to go, and we'll see what happens.
One of the things Kyle's done and John have done, they embrace the history of this franchise. And so Joe Montana's at a game, Jerry Rice is at a game, Steve Young. How do you feel about the importance of that? And then how do you feel about being measured by the standard of those players?
Well, I love that we keep it, in the family and everything. It's just when those older players come back and, just whether they talk to us or you just see them on the sideline, it's having them around. It's cool. It's just makes you realize the history of this organization, and it's just whenever you get that opportunity, I mean, it's great.
You mentioned that you were similar to Sherm in the way that you guys both see perceived slights. Obviously, you guys react publicly to them in very different ways. I'm wondering, where do you think your approach to just being kind of quiet about that comes from versus Sherm, obviously, who seems to fuel himself by being a little bit louder about it?
I don't know. I think maybe having two older brothers, you say too much, you get, keep your mouth shut a little bit. Just, I don't know. I think it just comes from me naturally, how I am.
Robert Saleh talked about
was the first road trip where you guys stayed out on the road and building team unity and kind of getting off to a good start 2-0 and then coming and going on the road. You guys did 8-0.
The one in Ohio you're talking about?
Yeah, starting the season. How important was that to build the team unity?
It was cool. It seems like a lifetime ago, but just staying in the Holiday Inn, all that stuff. Just it was an eventful week, a little different than what we were used to. But that time you get to spend with each other, with the coaches, with the teammates is, you can't replace that. It's awesome.
Last one. Have a viral moment where Kyle talked to an official on the sideline who said, "Oh, the coverage is going to go this way. There's watch for holding." How often does he do that with you guys as players during the week on install? Is there a certain time that you remember where you think, well, is that really going to happen? That happened exactly the way that he said it.
Yeah, there's definitely been a couple of those. It would be hard to recall one off the top of my head, but he always throughout the week. Whether it's situationally, this specific play or whatever it is, he'll, I don't know if you call it predicting or, giving you a heads up of what he thinks is going to happen. And when it does happen, it's very impressive. And as a player, when a coach does that, you could trust him so much with that. It's invaluable.
The fact that you guys have not run a lot of passing plays this last week, can that be an advantage in the Super Bowl since defense hasn't seen much?
Yeah. It's they'll have to be on their toes, kind of play the game out as it goes.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you, guys.
Back with Nick Bosa.
They're pretty normal. I front squat, RDL, step ups. I focus on technique. I squat pretty deep. That's about it.
Have you always had such powerful legs, or is it something you developed?
I definitely developed them, but I think I get them from my dad.
You talked about this a little bit on Sunday, but has it sunk in now, the part of the world you're returning to be in the Super Bowl? I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah, it definitely is special. Trying to block out all the distractions right now, though, and enjoy that when it's time to enjoy that.
Your brother plays the Chiefs twice a year. Has he given you tips, advice on how to attack those tackles?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be talking. He has pretty good input on these guys, so he's going to give me everything that he could give me, and it's up to me to go use it.
How important is it for you guys to pass rush as a collective unit? And I know often it's looked at like, from the outside as just being able to beat the guy in front of you, but how focused are you guys on that chemistry and timing in those different games that you need to do?
Yeah, we're back playing a mobile quarterback and one who could throw better than any we face. So one of the biggest things is trying to keep him in the pocket, not let him escape to where he wants to escape, and just make him uncomfortable.
With how fast those guys are and how explosive they want to be, I mean, obviously it's got to be a focus for you guys to try to get home.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But, I mean, is it just, how do you avoid, I don't know what I'm even trying to ask you. Just how important is it going to be, though, for you guys to get after Mahomes?
It'll be a pretty big factor in the game.
Do you see a similarity between him and Russell Wilson and just the escapability plus the arm?
Yeah, very similar with the extending plays and play breakdowns that turn into long touchdowns. You watch Tennessee, the second half they didn't get much of a rush, and you saw what happened. So that's definitely a big focus.
Do you think that you've gotten better against that type of quarterback? I mean, it's been a progression of mobile quarterbacks that you've faced. I mean, is there progress there in how you are attacking them?
Yeah, I think we've gotten better at everything this year as we've played. We've faced just about everything you can face. Obviously, this will be a little bit different challenge, but I trust everybody around me.
Along those lines, Robert talked about how important it is to rotate you guys so that you stay fresh. How important do you see that, all 8 of you guys up front?
Yeah, I mean, like we've been trying to do all year. We lost a couple guys in the middle of the year, so it became a little harder. But we got to keep the same mindset, stay as fresh as we can, so when it comes down to the crunch time, we could rush.
How stands out to you about the way that Robert Saleh prepares you guys?
Say that again?
What stands out to you about the way that Robert Saleh prepares you guys? Is it just?
I think he just lays out the plan really well from the start of the week today. He tells you exactly what we need to do to beat him, and it's usually pretty accurate. So he gives us our 3 keys, and he usually gets the D-line out of the room so we could go do our thing with Chris. But yeah, I mean, he keeps us really in sync between units, D-line, linebackers, DBs. We're all in sync. We know where each of us are going to fit, so there's no confusion. So yeah, he makes everything pretty clear for us.
From the Florida area, what does it mean to be playing in such a big game so close to home?
I think I just got that question, but it's really awesome. I mean, being in my hometown, I went to a lot of Dolphin games. My dad played for the Dolphins, so just to be back in that stadium, I played a couple high school games in there, so it's just obviously pretty big moment for us.
To have somebody like your brother who not only plays the sport but plays your exact position, and you guys can speak the same language and understand exactly what he's going through. How much of a resource has that been, and how much will it be as you guys carry on through your careers?
Yeah, season gets a little busy, but I feel like this off season we're definitely going to have a lot of conversations while we train about just things that I've learned this year from playing and things that he's learned, obviously. But yeah, we play a pretty similar position, pretty similar scheme, so there's going to be a lot of back and forth with that for sure.
Thanks, Nick.
Hello.
Rob just said that he tries to tell you guys a story for each game. Does that make sense? What does
Who?
it mean?
Rob Saleh, said he tries to give you guys a story for you.
The defense, yeah. During the
Just the
install.
defense? Yeah.
Not the offense.
Yeah, I mean,
We don't hear it, I don't know.
you don't get a story.
No, we don't get a story. Wish we did. I've heard they're epic.
That's made you guys such a great run team beyond the obvious commitment from the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think schematically, what we do offensively is really hard to defend. I think also just the mentality that we have as a whole entire offense. It's not just all on the offensive line. It's not all on the fullback. It's not on the running back. It's complete team effort. I think the wide receivers really buying into really being run blockers and committing to that is huge. You don't see that around the league. And they really understand that, if they really commit and go all aboard in the run game, that's going to open up things for them in the passing game. And, I think a lot of our skill players have no ego as far as stats go. They're going to do whatever they can do to, give us the win. And I think this last game, the game before that too, was really indicative of that. You didn't hear any complaining after the game, obviously. We're going to the Super Bowl, so it all worked out. But, even during the game, no one was complaining about no targets or anything like that. They were all fired up for the run, what we were able to do. So I think that's, a lot to do with it, just the mentality of everything.
Does that permeate the whole team on both sides of the ball when you take
Yeah, I think just that, no ego, do whatever we can do, fill our role, that whole thing that's preached about all the time, but it's never really done. I think that's really indicative of who this team is and what we've been all year is just whatever we can do to help the team, whatever our role is for this football team. Raheem's a huge example of that, just being a guy that wanted to be the best special teams player he could, never complaining about touches, gets his opportunity. As the season goes on to get more carries, takes advantage of that, and then has the biggest game in the biggest moment.
You gave Nick pass rushing advice in the summer when you were going against each other. Has that continued?
I didn't have to give him much, though.
I thought you guys.
Yeah, we were talking. It was more like, hey, why are you beating me so bad?
I mean, do you ever kind of give him tips during the year about how to attack a certain tackle or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, he's been unbelievable from day one. He's so physically gifted, whether it's, just his pure athleticism that he has, the power that he plays with, this understanding of how tackles are going to attack. I might, during a game, say, if I'm watching or catch something, I'd be like, hey, this, the tackle's really sitting down in your bull rush now. You have him set up, so whenever you want to do hands or whatever like that. But he's also usually one step ahead of me. He's like, yeah, I know, I'm going to be doing that next series. So, I mean, he's got plenty of soundboards that have been very successful in his life, his brother being the main one. And but, yeah, we always keep communication open, and, practicing against him always makes me better.
How do you view all the discussion around Jimmy, just given the fact that he'll take criticism because you guys only ran through 8 passes in the NFC title game?
It's
and how do you
wild
think
that he takes criticism for that. I mean, we won the game. We were doing what we needed to do to win the game, and that's the main point of a NFL football game. I think he'd be pretty sad if he threw for 450 and we lost, so it doesn't really matter.
He also said that he does see it and he does take it in and not address it publicly like Richard Sherman does. But how do you think Jimmy is handling all of that talk?
I don't think, if he says he sees it, he doesn't show it. He's been the same exact person since he's been in here. He prepares the exact same way. We have the utmost confidence in him to do whatever is needed to be done. We've had plenty of games this season where we've really had to lean on him heavily to win the games for us, and he's come through every single time. I think that's a storyline because we didn't throw the ball, obviously, the last game, but we didn't need to. And I think that's also a strength of Kyle, is that he's going to do whatever it takes to win the game, and whatever he feels like is working the best is what we're going to do. And so that doesn't fall on Jim's shoulders at all. I mean, it's a complete team effort, and I think that's another example of this team being very selfless in what we're doing, is that you have the quarterback that could care less if he throws for 500 yards or if he throws for 10. He just wants to win the game, and it's the whole entire team like that.
How will your Super Bowl experience help you in this game?
My Super Bowl experience was a long time ago. I mean, I think something I can really draw from that is just how chaotic it is when we get down there. Telling a lot of the younger guys what to expect, and make sure the distractions that kind of come with that game are not so much so the game, but they're like, you know, all of a sudden you have 20 family members that are down there. Everybody wants to have an experience down there. Just managing all that, making sure you have someone, you know, like I tell my mom and my wife, it's like, hey, you're going to be the no person. Like, we're going to have a set dinner that we're going to go to, but, you know, this is a business trip for me. And I tell a lot of the guys the same thing, is to, you know, manage their expectations of your family, what you're supposed to do down there, and really focus on the game.
Did the level of chaos surprise you the first time, and did you not do
A little bit. More so like just the media day and the media obligations, you know, because you're used to just doing what we do here, and then you get down there and it's like almost 100 times what you've done your whole entire career. So that's a little bit overwhelming at first, but you know, I think there's lessons to be learned in that, and I think that we have enough guys here that have gone through it, and we have a good enough team and quality guys that, you know, it's not going to be a distraction.
What's it like going against Frank Clark, and how intense does he get on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very familiar with Frank from his time in Seattle. He's a hell of a player. You know, a guy that plays with relentless effort the whole entire time. So he's a huge challenge. And as far as like intense and like, you know, trash talking or anything like that, I never really had that. You know, I don't really talk trash, and guys really don't talk trash much to me. So it's just kind of a battle. We have mutual respect for each other, and so it's going to be a hell of a battle going against him in the biggest stage.
In your previous Super Bowl, was there any surprise to you about the intensity of the game?
No, I think the surprise for me was like going up into the game, the build up, you kind of tell yourself, you know, this is another game. We've been doing this in my whole entire life. And then you go out there for pregame warm-ups, and that was the only time for me that I actually felt like we're in the Super Bowl. Just because there's so many people around, you realize the moment that you're playing in the Super Bowl. And I think, too, just embrace that. You know, and understand that you're playing in a game, but it's something you've been doing your whole entire life. You've prepared for this moment, and I think that's you know, something you can really fall back on, is just the preparation and, you know, understanding what you're going into and accepting it and going forward. But you know, once the whistle blows and you play the first snap, you know, everything is just same old.
I think your perspective on the second half of the career that you've had, or maybe your approach to the second half of the career, would have changed had you won that Super Bowl?
No, I think that was yeah, no. I don't really have a drawn-out answer, but I don't think it would have changed. And I wanted to play a certain amount of time. I wanted to play as long as I could still play at a high level that I felt like was up to my standard, and you know, I haven't been falling off yet. So.
When you look at game tape of your run game and how it has been blocked, are you seeing, just generally speaking, really kind of high-level stuff, precise execution across the board? Like, what have you seen from that?
Yeah, I mean, just seeing like guys being on it, you know, all 11. Really, you know, just physical play, coming off the ball. A lot of execution. I mean, a lot of guys being on the details of blocks. And there's a lot of little intricacies about, you know, exactly where to place your hat as an offensive lineman, or, you know, the different rules that we have for receivers and tight ends and fullbacks, and everybody just doing it and being on top of those details. I mean, I think that's just generally speaking, you know, how football is, though. When you're executing at a high level, it's about all those little details that, you know, you go through the week of practice and get ironed out.
Joe, did you get an NFC Championship ring, obviously 7 years ago, and what do you do with it?
We did, and I have absolutely no idea where it is. I've never really. It's probably somewhere. I hope it's somewhere.
Joe, what makes Kyle such a good play caller, especially the timing of knowing when to make a call?
Yeah, it's just the way he's able to piece everything together and completely understand exactly how a defense is trying to attack us and defend what we do, and then exactly how to counter that. And he usually seems like he's 2 or 3 steps ahead. He understands, like, you know, this certain play, while it might not give us that home run that we're looking for, it's going to set something up in the second quarter that is. And it's, you know, he's a complete chess player when it comes to pieces on the football field and exactly how we design plays and how we put people in positions to be successful.
You know, what makes Jimmy such a great leader, you know, behind the scenes and then when you get on the field and in tough situations?
He's an unbelievable human being, guys just love being around him. He's a very genuine human being, comes from, you know, unbelievable family, just, you know, salt of the earth kind of guy. But then B, in the you know, here, his preparation, I think that's always what gets a lot of respect. Guys just preparing exactly, you know, how they're supposed to. He knows every single detail of this offense. He knows exactly what his, role is for a certain play, what he's supposed to do on this pass play or run play. And he just plays with incredible passion for the football game, and he makes you want to be better.
Were you surprised that you beat him at tic-tac-toe?
That was actually staged. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Emmanuel Sanders will be right in.
What up, what up?
Joe was just in here telling us about his Super Bowl experience and how overwhelmed he was by all the kind of extra stuff that happens there, and said that he assigned family members to be the no people to kind of keep the other family members from making it too hectic. Can you relate to that? I mean, was it for you that hectic when you were out here?
No, because it was my second time around. First time it wasn't hectic as well. I think like the language is going on around the building, I think is very accurate. Kyle's been around a long time, and John's won Super Bowls, and we got guys on this team who's won Super Bowls and been to the Super Bowl. So I think the language is going on around here in terms of handling everything this week. So when we get out to Miami, it's going to be even more of a chaos. And so I think that we're speaking the right language in terms of getting the young guys to understand and visualize what's exactly going to go on and how the week is going to be and how it's going to be out of Miami as well.
How do you feel
What is that message that John and
obviously it's prepare this week. Obviously prepare this week. We got practice today. Prepare like we're getting ready to play on Sunday. Prepare all week like you're getting ready to play a game on Sunday, because if you don't, by the time we get out to Miami, it's going to be chaos. We got media day. We got all kind of obligations. It's not going to be like your regular schedule that we used to in terms of, getting off of work, going home, hanging out at home. It's going to be, you're going to be getting pulled left and right in terms of different obligations that you got to do. And so you got to handle all that. But at the same time, it's about, like I said, making these young guys visualize it so that when it does happen, then it just hit them upside the head. They see it before it comes.
Joe was also talking about that it doesn't always happen where the wideouts are such willing blockers and participants in the run game. Why has this group been so willing to be involved?
Yeah, I think it's a mindset. At the end of the day, we got a lot of guys who aren't me guys. It's about let's get the job done and let's win. It's more about we than me. And and I'm one of those guys as well, and I think everybody is a part of it. You even look at, Kittle. Kittle's one of the best tight ends in the league, but everybody wants to talk about his blocking as well. So I think it's contagious around the building in terms of going out and doing your job. When you look at your best players and they're doing it, I feel like everybody else will want to hop on board as well. So it's contagious.
How valuable is Super Bowl experience from your history?
How what?
How valuable is Super Bowl experience?
What do you mean by value?
How much can it really help a player in the game in the lead up to it?
I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean?
The second time you were in the Super Bowl, did you feel like you were more prepared for it than the first time?
I think I was prepared both. In the first one I got hurt, and then in the second one, obviously, I went out. I had 80 yards. I don't know how many catches, but I feel like it's a lot of hype in terms of it's a Super Bowl, the biggest sporting event in the world, but at the same time, it's my job. I got to go out and win a game. I've been playing, and I told young guys today, I said, it's going to be a lot of hype. Obviously, you can watch TV, you can feed into that, but at the end of the day, none of that matters if you lose the game. So the best bet is just to try to stay locked in. Don't read the newspaper articles and stuff like that. But just trying to just stay in the moment. And I told him, and maybe it's just how I'm built, but once the clock starts rolling and I go out on that field, I just love the game of football, and I'm just so locked in on doing my job that I kind of forget it's the Super Bowl. It's like it's more a battle, and you forget that it's millions of people watching. And so I think that, I speak for the whole when I say I feel like this team, from a focus standpoint, we're all built like that as well, because we've been in crucial games, and I've looked on the sideline and nobody blinked.
And you don't even hear the crowd when you're on the field?
Yeah, sometimes I don't. Like, I literally be locked in. I'm not one of them guys that try to, and I wish I was more like that, but at the same time, it's a blessing and a curse. I'm not one of them guys that's going to look around and enjoy the ambiance of it. I'm more, like, straightforward, like, just focused on my goal. And then at the end of it, when it's all said and done, you look up at the scoreboard and you say, okay, we won, now it's time to celebrate.
You try to, visualize yourself over the next week and a half,
Oh,
catching
yeah.
a touchdown pass?
I've already been visualizing everything, I've been visualizing everything. As a team, we've been visualizing, talking about how it's going to be after we win it, because like I said many times, like you got some people that say, oh, yeah, I'm happy to be in the Super Bowl, and you got some people that say, okay, yeah, cool, we were NFC champions. But at the same time, we still got one game left, and we got to go and handle business.
Did you visualize what that score might be?
Nah. Imagine I gave a Super Bowl score prediction. Oh, all y'all's pins would start moving.
Emmanuel, you've been around a lot of quarterbacks. What makes Jimmy unique as a leader, and then obviously when he takes it on the field, is in the huddle, leading you guys down the field?
Yeah, I love Jimmy. I swear I love Jimmy. But I'm tired of talking about Jimmy. Jimmy's a baller, man. I've been saying it since day one. Could you imagine every week it's Jimmy? I feel like Jimmy and we do have a relationship, but that's my boy, man. And Jimmy's a baller, and I keep saying it over and over, and it's the same questions, but he's a baller, and I expect him to do what he got to do. Obviously, he threw the ball 8 times last week, but at the same time, some people say, oh, yeah, you got to stop the run. But it's been plenty of times they say you got to stop the run, and then next thing you know, we open up the passing game. And so I feel like we can do that as well.
Can you speak to what it's like to be coached by Wes Welker and what influence he's had on the game?
Yeah, it's cool because I play with Wes. That's how I know I feel a little old. But I play with Wes, and now he's my coach, and, man, he's doing a good job. Obviously, I know a little bit more than the younger guys, but what he's doing with those young guys, it's amazing. The way that he got Deebo Samuel playing, Deebo was already a player, but you have some players that's great players, but you need a coach that can pull the greatness up out of them. And I think that's a lot of credit to Deebo and Kyle and how they've been able to pull the greatness out of Deebo, because we sit here and talk about him, but he's a rookie, and we don't really talk about him like a rookie because he doesn't play like a rookie. He plays like a grown man, and that's how it's supposed to be. And so I've been enjoying just being in the room with Wes, and every now and then he'll pull out some of his old clips to show the young guys, hey, look, I might be saying this, but I've done this before too. Don't get it twisted.
Does he have any specific principles or points of emphasis that he always makes?
I think one thing that Wes says is that, he always tells the young guys, you never arrive, because the moment that you feel like you've made it in this league, that's when you're on your way out. And so he always tells the guys, keep your head down and keep working, because the moment you think that you made it, you didn't. You're out of here. So, I can relate to that as well, because going on year 10, I still don't feel like I've arrived, but at the same time, like, my head is down, I'm just working.
Emmanuel, the receivers on this team get pretty heavily involved in run blocking and seem to embrace that. Is that a big point of emphasis on this team?
Yeah, I think you late to the party, man. Yeah.
You had a bunch of silly questions that when you went to the Super Bowl before. Like, what kind of sandwich would you be? And that kind of
Yeah, I actually enjoy that more. Up here, you gotta watch what you say. You don't want no headlines. All right, thanks, man. All right.